Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be going through my fall TBR. I know it is still not technically fall, and I don't even think it'll technically be fall when I post this, but who cares? We're going to get through it early because to me, September is fall. I don't know about you, but like September is fall, even though technically fall is until the last week of September. Once September hits, it's fall season. The weather's already starting to get cooler, quote unquote. I do live in Nevada, so it's still like high 90s, but it's getting cooler. We're not in the hundreds, a win's a win. Clearly getting darker out now. It's now getting dark around like 8, 7, which before it was staying light until at least 9. So I'm already very, very excited about that because I love sunlight. I thrive off sunlight, but I'm super excited for this fall weather. I've even got on my camo sweater for the fall spirit. It's already getting a little toasty, so I think I'm just going to get into this so I don't overheat in this. So we are going to start, we're going to split this into sections. So I think I'm going to start with series first off because I think those are kind of the most important, and I already have most of these kind of planned out for the rest of the year. The first series that I'm hoping to get to is the Greenbone Saga by Miss Fonda Lee. I have this penciled in to read throughout the month of September. I am already halfway through Jade City, so I'm hoping to finish out the second half of this and then get through Jade War and Jade Legacy. I've heard literally nothing but good things about this, and I remember I created a TikTok saying that I really want to finally finish a series because it's been so long since I've gotten to the end of a series and had that feeling of completing a series and just that you loving this world and wanting to be in it and not wanting to end but wanting to see how things resolve for all these characters. I miss that feeling and I need it. So I'm hoping Jade Legacy will give me that, and I'm hoping I'm going to love this series as much as everyone else does. The next series I have is the last 2 books in the Age of Madness trilogy by Joe Abercrombie. So the Trouble with Peace and the Wisdom of Crowds. I read A Little Hatred, which is the first book, a couple months ago now, but I'm going to be finishing these in October. Specifically, I scheduled them in October because it gives me time to read the Greenbone Saga, but also finish these before my dad finishes them because he's currently reading through the First Law World. And last I spoke to him, he was still on Best Served Cold, and I think he is still currently on Best Served Cold. So I've got a little bit of time, a little bit of buffer to get these done because normally he's not a super fast reader. He's not a speed reader. He's not going to sit down and finish a book cover to cover in one sitting. He likes to take his time. So I've got a bit of time to finish these, but I am trying to beat him to the end because I told him I'd beat him, and I've said that before and I failed. This time I'm determined to win. So I will get to these in October. I then have the last 4 books in the Expanse series, which I think I have this scheduled to read in either November or December. But I've read the first 5 books in this series, and I have felt kind of middle of the road about books, 3 and 4. I enjoyed books 1 and 2. Book 1 was a great introduction. It really started the series off with a bang. Book 2, we met one of my favorite characters, Avasarala, and I love her now. Book 3 just kind of felt a little meandering. There's a overarching plot that I feel has been really in the background for the majority of this series that I really want to kick off, and we didn't get it in book 3. And then in book 4, it was basically the plot of book 3 again, but just rehashed, and I was kind of bored. And again, I was more interested in our overarching plot. Book 5, it did bring it back for me. It still was not focusing on the overarching plot, but it was focusing on the main crew of the Rocinante, which I enjoyed. So I'm hoping these last 4 books we're going to get that plot that's kind of been in the background, more of that and more of the crew of the Rocinante. In the last series, I'm just holding up Every Heart Adore, but this does encompass pretty much the entirety of the Wayward Children series because I read Every Heart Adore a couple months ago, loved it, enjoyed it so much. I am currently reading Down Among the Sticks and Bones. However, I do have an arc for Garnets of Gates, Garnets of Gold, and whatever the 11th book is, I have an arc for that. So I need to catch up and get to the rest of the series before then. So my plan is I'm going to be reading, I think, 2 of these each month, and then the last month I'm going to read the final 3 in the series, including my arc of the newest book that comes out in January. Next up, we're going to talk about some fantasy I would like to get into, and continuing on a series that I started last year is Of Darkness and Light with by Ron Cahill. This is the second book in the Bound and Broken series. I read the first book and the first novella around Christmas last year, so maybe I might pick this around Christmas this year, but I did really enjoy it. And I know some people say that the first book is really just kind of an introduction to the world. So I hope to really get sucked into this and kick off the rest of the series and continue on, hopefully. And then maybe next year, this will be one of my series that I'll try to prioritize for the year. Another series that I would like to get into is the Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb. So many people have been talking about this series on TikTok. So many people have talked about this series. So we talked about the Life to Trader series. So many people just love Robin Hobb, and I really want to get into her because because I found out how much they love it, and I want to love it too. So I'm hoping to hopefully maybe start Assassin's Apprentice. Will I start in the fall? I don't know. It's definitely giving fall. I feel like the cover gives like very fall vibes. Maybe it might be a winter read. I will say this whole TBR is definitely a fall/winter TBR because I feel like they both give the same vibes. Both seasons kind of have the same reading feeling for me at least. But Assassin's Apprentice is definitely one that I want to get to hopefully very soon. But we'll see because I got a lot of books I want to talk about. Next up is a recent release, but Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. I got an e-arc of the first 18 chapters, I think actually, on audio for this, and I loved it. I really enjoyed it. I was surprised how much I really liked it because I've heard so much about like Divine Rivals, and I think she has another book, what is it, River Enchanted, and to be honest, neither of those really interested me, but this was a read now on NetGalley, so I thought, let me give it a shot, see if I like it, and I loved it. I loved her writing. I loved the way it felt so like magical, and it felt like you were being told like a story, and I just really enjoyed this. So I'm hoping to get to the rest of this. I actually just got the audiobook through Libby. I was the first one in line because I was surprised because it just came out, but I have this on Libby, so I'm probably going to get to this one very, very soon. And then I might also give Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows a shot as well as River Enchanted. Now the next two are by the same author, and it's kind of either or. So I have A Shadow of What Was Lost and The Will of the Many by James Islington. And I'm trying to decide which one I want to read and which one I want to prioritize because The Will of the Many has been getting so much hype on YouTube, on TikTok, pretty much everywhere. So many people love it. And the sequel, The Strength of the Few, comes out in November. So I could try and read this and then immediately go into The Strength of the Few. However, I do know that's going to be a trilogy. So even if I do get finished The Strength of the Few, I'm still probably going to be left on a cliffhanger because I know this one's on a cliffhanger. And I'm going to have to wait, like a year, maybe two for the sequel. So I don't know if I want to do that, but I do really want to read this, and I know so many people love it. So I'm conflicted. And then I also feel like I should start with his original trilogy, the Lycanius trilogy, because it was first. And it is completed. So I'm not going to have to wait for any books. I can just go through the full of this. And I did start this at one point. I don't remember how far I got. And it doesn't look like I put a bookmarker in. Oh, wait. I got almost 300 pages into this. Damn. I'm probably going to start it over, though, when I try and go through again. So maybe I think I will try and prioritize because I've already started it. And this is another one my dad actually read. He read this one. He hasn't finished the series out, but he also really enjoyed this. So maybe I will read this. And then, hey, if I finish it up, I could probably just go straight into The Will of the Many. So maybe I could do both. Will I? Probably not, because clearly I'm not great at finishing series, but we can hope. Next, we've got a little subgenre of fantasy, but we're doing vampires. So first up, I have Bloodslave by Marcus Redmond. This is another new release. This takes place, I think, in like the 1700s, early 1700s, because it's during the time of slavery. And I'm pretty sure it's like the slaves become vampires, and they basically try to overthrow the slave masters and overthrow, everyone trying to keep them enslaved, which sounds very interesting. It sounds like something I'd want to read. Black vampires, we love it. We then have probably the most hyped vampire book that has come out recently, Burial of Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. I will say I think this might be my last test for V.E. Schwab because actually that's a lie, because I feel like I also still want to read another one for my August TBR, actually, Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. So I feel like both of these I will try to read sometime during the fall time. Burger Bones is probably going most likely because this is another one that I got the first 8 chapters, I believe, as an e-arc through NetGalley, and I again was really enjoying that beginning. Not much had happened, and we didn't really get much of one of our main characters, but I'm hoping to get back into it, and hopefully I really like it. And then if I really like it, I can go straight into the Invisible Life. This is one that I hear is very slow though, so it seems very hit or miss, but I know people seem to really like the ending. It seems to make them cry, so we'll see how I feel. And then last up for vampire books, by one of my favorite authors, we have Buffalo Hunter Hunter by Mr. Stephen Graham Jones. In fact, once we get to our horror section, we've got even more Stephen Graham Jones because I have been loving his writing lately. I am currently reading I Was a Teenage Slasher, so this is also technically on the TBR, but I'm actively in the middle of it. I think I'm like 50% of the way through this. Loving this so far. So I want to also get to Buffalo Hunter Hunter and then 2 other books by him that we'll talk about a bit later. This one, Vampires, a vampire revenge story, which sounds even better. I love a revenge story. I love vampires, so I'm hoping I'm gonna love this. And it's by one of my favorite authors, so I know I like him. I know I like his writing, and I like his character work, so I have high hopes for this one. Oh, I was incorrect. That was not the last one for vampires. The last one is Immortal Dark, which is a dark academia vampire story, which ties into our next category, sneak peek. But this one, another one that's had a lot of hype. I'm pretty sure the sequel for it comes out pretty soon. I don't know if it's just supposed to be a duology, if it's going to be a longer series, so I will find that out. But I want to get into this. I know so many people have talked about it, so many people say it's really good. Again, vampires, and it's black vampires. Have fun. And like I said, our next category is going to be dark academia. And for this, I'm pretty sure most of you already know what I'm going to say. My queen of Dark Academia. I don't know if she's the queen of Dark Academia, but she is my queen of Dark Academia, Miss R. F. Kwong. Yeah. So I am currently reading Babel. I'm like 50% of the way through. I am bound and determined to finish this month. I will be finishing this before September, before October hits. Come hell or high water, this will get read before anything else. I'm finishing this. And then hopefully, once I finish that, it's going to make me want to go straight into catabasis. Might it not? Because Babel might put me in a slump, maybe. The way people talk about that ending, it might put me in a slump. But I'm hoping to get to catabasis early October, maybe November. I don't know. But it's definitely the perfect fall book. And so many people, I know people saying like the early reviews for this weren't good. I haven't looked at any reviews for this. One, because I was like, I already know I'm gonna like it. It's Horror Punk. I love her down, love her too bad. So I don't really care about anyone's negative reviews. And then also people were saying that like it was too academic. The book is dark academia. There's gonna be academics, guys. Like I don't know what to tell you. It's gonna be academic. And also, if you read Babel, I don't know why you're surprised. Like Catabasis is so academic. Like Babel, incredibly academic. Like be for real. Anyways, I no this. This is a 5-star prediction, and I'm going to be absolutely gutted, devastated, in shambles if it's not. The other heavy hitter for Dark Academia, Blood Over Brighthaven by Miss Emma Wong. I read The Sword of Kaigan earlier this year as well. Loved that. Was devastated by it. Had my heart ripped out by it. So I'm hoping this does the exact same thing. I've heard really great things about this one as well, so I'm hoping this one really holds up. And like I said, I've already read from Emma Wong before, so I know she can make it happen. She can make me love it. Will I like it more than Sword of Kaigan? I feel like is the real test. We'll see. We'll see. And then continuing another series, I do finally need to get to Hellbent. I read Ninth House probably like a year or two ago, and I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. So why haven't I read Hellbent? I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I think this is now supposed to be a trilogy. I could have sworn at one point this was supposed to be like a 10-book long series, but I guess it got trimmed down to a series. I don't know. But I do need to read this. I need to get to this. This is another one I've heard kind of mixed reviews on. I don't know if people really like it. Granted, I don't feel like a lot of people liked Ninth House. I feel like I heard a lot of mixed reviews when it came out. In fact, before I even read it, I feel like I heard more negative reviews than positive reviews, and I ended up loving it. So I have high hopes that even though people have felt wishy-washy on Hellbent, that I'm going to love it. Last book, which I am not sure if this is Dark Academia, but Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. In fact, un moment, where is she? And she's here. There she is. We're also going to add Pure Nessie by Susanna Clarke. We're doubling up. Both books by Susanna Clarke. I have higher hopes that I'll probably get to Pure Nessie just because it's significantly shorter, but this is one that I've heard literally nothing but good things about. So many people love this. I know people say like for the first chapter you're going to be confused as hell, but you just kind of have to go with it. So we'll try this. Hopefully I will love it. And this is also part of my r/fantasy TBR. So 2 birds, 1 stone. And then Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. To be honest, I don't know that many people who have read this. The few people I do are just like, it's really long and it just kind of gets kind of boring in the middle. So I don't know if I'm going to like this. I know it's like very light on the fantasy, but who knows? Maybe I'll really like it. We'll see. All right, next up, we've got some thrillers and horror. First up for thrillers, I have The Good Daughter by Karen Slaughter. I read Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter a few years ago, and then I've read the first 2 books in the Grant County series, and I loved Pretty Girls. Like, I'm obsessed with it. It's probably my favorite thriller of all time at this point, so I'm hoping that I will read another Karen Slaughter and love it. I feel like I've heard mixed things about The Good Daughter. I don't know if people like it as much as Pretty Girls, so I hope I do like it. This is another one that I did start at one point. I don't remember how far I got into it, but I've got a few tabs here at the beginning, but I'm hoping to love it. I know Karen Slaughter, she's one of those authors where like she doesn't hold her punches. Like her books get pretty dark and they're pretty graphic, so I would definitely check her trigger warnings before you go into them. But I really loved that Pretty Girls one. It definitely even made me cry at one point, which thrillers that make me cry rarely ever happens, but I'm excited to try this one. And then I also want to read First Lie Wins. This is another one. I don't think I've actually heard any good things about it, but it sounds interesting. I started it. Like half these books I've started at one point. I didn't get far into it. I'm like 5 chapters in. I think I was listening to the audiobook. But it sounds interesting. It sounds confusing, but I don't know. It doesn't have good ratings and most people don't like it. But I've noticed, for me at least, when it comes to thrillers, it seems like I like thrillers that most people don't like. So when someone doesn't like a thriller, it makes me feel like, oh, maybe I'll like it, which can sometimes bite me in the ass because then I end up reading shit that sucks. Last thriller, The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. I read, what is it called? All the Colors of the Dark earlier this year, a couple months ago. And I loved it. It's a like literary thriller, and this is another like very popular literary thriller that I think came out in the same year or around the same time. So I really want to read this one. I'm hoping it gives me the same feeling that All the Colors of the Dark gave me. But I don't know. I feel like I haven't heard as many good reviews as The God of the Woods as I did for All the Colors of the Dark. I know people really love that one. I feel like people say this one either like it's a hit or a miss. I know people are saying that like if you're expecting it to be like thriller, fast paced, twist and twist, twist, like it's not that because it is more literary. But I liked that in the other books, so I'm hoping I will also really enjoy that in this. All right, we got a pretty fat stack of horror, but the first one, A God in the Shed, I've owned this one for a while. To be honest, I don't really know much about it. I'm pretty sure this is just there's a creature, a god in a shed. In this town that people are that's I think is killing people. It seems interesting. It's pretty underrated. Like I think I literally saw like one or two TikToks on this and I was like, well, I'm gonna buy it. And I also really like the cover. So I'm gonna give it a shot. I don't really know anything about it. I haven't really seen anyone else talk about it. So I'm like hoping maybe it'll be like an underrated fave. And then A Dowry of Blood. I feel like I'm the last person on earth to still have not read this. So many people love it. I've owned a copy of this for so long. I still have the like indie cover of this one before it was traditionally published. But I need to get into this one. Another vampire. So you think I'd like be into it? I would have done it already, but I don't know. I just haven't gotten to it. And then Slewfoot. This is another one I've wanted to read for so long. It sounds so good. This is a revenge story, I think, or I think it's like she finally stands up for herself and she like gets back at the town people. I don't know, but it sounds good. She makes a deal with a demon, so I'm hoping I really like it. And I know it's like illustrated throughout by the author. And I don't think I've heard a single bad thing about this. So many people love it. So this is one I want to get to. And I think I'm going to try and read this specifically in October, specifically around, Halloween, spooky season, just for the vibes. The Last House on Needle Street by Catcher in a Ward has been on my TBR for so long. I've owned this for forever. And I keep saying like, oh, I really need to read it. I need to read it. In fact, I'm pretty sure I own another Catcher in a Ward. Yeah, Sundial. I haven't heard great things about that one. But The Last House on Needle Street was so popular a few years ago. And I just never read it. So we need to change that. I want to get to it. I know I think we get the POV of a cat. So I don't know if the cat's considered sentient. But we do get the POV of a cat, and there's some twist in it. So I'm interested. I want to get to it. Another one that was very popular, Mary by Nat Cassidy. I think I'm going to try and read the audiobook for this one. And I think this one and this one are probably two that, again, I'm going to try read specifically in October for the vibes. But this one sounds very interesting. Another one that I've heard mixed things on, but mixed things leaning positive. And then Kill Creek by Scott Thomas. This, another one that I feel like was popular a few years ago when it came out. I'm pretty sure this is like they're stuck in a house and either someone's murdering them or maybe the house is murdering them. I don't know. But I love a creepy house. I love a horror with like a creepy house and like creepy things happening and like you don't know what's going on. I don't know if that's exactly this, but I'm gonna give it a shot and see if I like it. I've seen very good reviews on this one, at least from the people that I follow. Last two are authors that I have read from before. First up, Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Gertie Hendricks. I've read two of his works. The Southern Book was Guide to Slaying Vampires and My Best Friend's Exorcism. I loved both, so I'm hoping I'm gonna love this one. I do own a bunch of his other ones, so maybe I'll try and get to those as well. But I'm hoping to at least hit this one. And Witchcraft for Wayward Girls, they're witches. Again, spooky season. It's just the vibes are there. The vibes they're fitting. Last up, like I mentioned, we've got two books from Stephen Graham Jones, The Only Good Indians and Don't Fear the Reaper. Don't Fear the Reaper is a sequel to My Heart is a Chainsaw, which I read last year, year before, and I gave 5 stars. I loved it. I'm obsessed with Jade. She is probably one of my favorite main characters. And like I said, I love his character work. I love the way he writes characters. He just makes me love them so much. So I'm hoping to get back into the world with her. And I've heard this book is definitely much more of a slasher than the first book was, which I don't know how I'm going to feel about that. I feel like it could go either way because currently, like I said, I am reading, I was a teenage slasher. I'm loving that version of a slasher. So I like that. But he did do another sort of slasher-esque thing for Killer on the Road that I didn't love as much. So I don't know. We're going to see how it pans out. But I'm excited for this one. And then I think, honestly, I think this is his most popular one, and I'm ashamed that I still haven't read it. I remember I tried to read this when I was first getting into horror, which I think for a first horror book was not a good choice because his writing style in this one was a bit confusing for me. but I do want to give it another shot, and I'm hoping to love this. I do remember like the first part was very good. It's just I could not get my mind around the way he was writing and his writing style at the time. But I think since I have read a few books from him now, I'm a bit more versed in how he writes and his flow. And I do think he's a bit different in this one, or maybe I'm just remembering it that way. So I'm hoping to get to this one and finally check this off my list. All right, our next category is like literary, historical, general fiction of the such. First up is On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. I have been needing to read this for literal ever, and I'm sad that I haven't. I already bought Emperor of Gladness, which is his most recent release. So I'm not putting that on the TBR because I do want to try and read this one first. And it is super short, so like I should be able to do it. And I'm hoping to read this and love it. And I'm hoping it makes me cry because I know it makes so many other people cry. I then have Martyr. I think this came out this year. No, it couldn't have been. Well, it might have been this year. I'm pretty sure it would have been in hardback either this year or last year. This is another one that I've heard get so much praise and so many people love it. So I'm hoping it's also a hit for me. Another very popular one, Chain Gang All Stars. I've heard literally nothing but good things about this. I'm pretty sure this is like prison system, but it's like they're for entertainment. So like they're fighting to the death and they can like fight for their freedom. I don't know, but it sounds good. And I think it's another one that people cry in. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you know me, I love to cry while reading. So that's always a bonus. Speaking of crying while reading, Betty. This is one, I'm pretty sure people say that like this equates to A Little Life for them. And while I personally will never read A Little Life because I 100% don't think I can handle what happens in that book, I for some reason think Betty will work for me. Because I know people said that like Shuggie Bain was as sad as A Little Life. It's not. I read it, I loved it, but it's definitely not as sad as A Little Life. So I'm hoping this isn't going to be as traumatic as I'm pretty sure A Little Life is, but I'm hoping it still devastates me and like tears my heart out. Because again, I love to cry while reading. Like I genuinely want to be sobbing while reading this book. Like the end of this book better just fuck me up. Really, I want to sob. A book that I have started, Beartown by Frederick Bachman. I am 113 pages in. I paused on this one because this does center around a sexual assault, and it's not something I just I really like to read about. I tend to avoid it, but I do want to get through this because I love Frederick Bachman as an author, and I was loving, everything I was reading up to, and I just knew the sexual assault was coming into the story pretty soon. I'm pretty sure it was going to start tying in. So I had to take pause on it, but I'm going to get back into it. I'm going to finish this. This is definitely more of a winter read than a fall read. But like I said, they're kind of the same. Speaking of fall reads, we have The Frozen River, which is by Ariel Lahan, which I read her, I think she wrote that novel in conjunction with two other authors, When We Had Wings, which is my first ever World War II historical fiction. I really enjoyed it. And this one was a very popular one this year. I've been seeing it everywhere. So I wanted to give this one a try. I'm pretty sure this is about like a midwife and a murder. I don't think she commits the murder, but there's a murder in like 1700s. Sounds interesting. Sounds good. And after reading and enjoying her previous novel, I wanted to give this one, which has been popping off lately, a try. Next up, we have nonfiction, which I made a goal for myself this year to try and read 5 nonfiction. And at this point in the year, September, I've read 0, none, goose egg. So I'm hoping to maybe try and like buckle in and read 5 throughout the rest of the year. I might not, so I'm going to say hope I could read 3, but the ones I want to read first, but of the ones I want to read, I do have the audiobook for The Gift of Fear from Libby currently out right now, which what's annoying about this is I got the audiobook through Audible around when I canceled my membership because I had like 10 credits that I needed to use up. So I said, let me just do this one because I had this book on hold for months, literal months, and it just was not getting any closer. So I bought it with my credit. And then I guess I forgot to cancel my hold on it, and literally it popped up like a week later. And keep in mind, when I checked, it still had like weeks, I think maybe even like a month or 2 left of me waiting, and then it popped up. I'm irritated beyond belief. You have no idea. Anyways, but this is an audiobook that I do currently have. So that one's definitely one of the books that I would like to get to. Another one is Gulag by Anne Applebaum, which this is about the Gulag in Russia, which is basically like kind of an internment camp that was still up and running for like years and years after the internment camps in like Germany were closed down. You would just get sent to the Gulag for literally anything for like the smallest reason. And I'm pretty sure this kind of gives you a full history on the Gulag. And I thought it sounded very interesting. It is a brick, so it's going to take me a bit. So is my picking a long ass nonfiction to try and finish within the last 4 months of the year a good choice? I don't know. But I have the audiobook for this. I have the audiobook for all of these because most of my nonfiction I tend to do through audio because I think it's just more accessible that way. Speaking of long ass nonfiction, The Warmth of Other Suns, another Brit, but another one that seems very good. I'm pretty sure, yeah, this is the epic story of America's Great Migration. So this is when a lot of Black Americans were, I'm pretty sure, moving out of the South and up to the North between 1915 and 1970. I don't really know much else about this, but I did see Kayla from Books and Lala reading this, and she really enjoyed it, and it sounds really interesting. It sounds like something I'd want to know more about. So I got the book, and I do have the audiobook. I then have Manhunters, How We Took Down Pablo Escobar, which I'm pretty sure is written by the two I don't even, DEA agents, FBI, who took down Pablo Escobar. And I'm pretty sure this book was the basis for the show Narcos, which I love that show. I've rewatched it like 2 or 3 times. I love Narcos. I'm obsessed with it. I just think it's so interesting. And I loved learning about like Pablo Escobar and like his whole criminal empire he had going on and how they were trying to hunt him down and how he was like avoiding them and outmaneuvering them pretty much every step of the way. So I thought it was really interesting. And I think I got this secondhand. Yeah, I did. And I was like, okay, well, I saw the show, so why don't I read the story from the two agents that actually found him? And then last up for nonfiction is SPQR by Mary Beard. This is one that I have started. I got 60 pages in. I was reading those first 60 pages physically and probably am going to get the audiobook as well to listen along because I'm just really interested. I like history. I've always been interested in history ever since school. And I feel like even in school, I really liked like ancient Greece and ancient Rome. So I wanted to finally like start reading things about ancient Rome and like actually really learn and like actually put time into it. And I know it's like a thing. I think it's on TikTok where people are like, I think they're like creating their syllabus where it's like things they're out of school now, but it's like things they want to learn on their own. So they're like looking into books and stuff like that. And like this is one of my like special interests is just ancient Rome. So I was like, you know what? Let me start with the book on ancient Rome because I know so many people recommend SPQR. So I'm going to pick this one up. And will I finish this one by the end of the year? I don't know, but I'm excited to get to it. All right, home stretch. Our last category is classic. And this is another one where I think I read one classic earlier this year, which was The Crucible. And I said, you know what? Why don't I make a goal for myself? I already said I was going to read 5 nonfiction. How about I make a goal to read 5 classics? Again, The Crucible is the only one I've read, so I'm still 4 behind. But I have 5 here that I would like to try to read and I would like to get to try to at least 4. I did the math, and if I read 10 pages of all 5 of these until the end of the year, if I can finish them by December 31st. So it's possible, it can be done. Will I stick to the 10 pages? I don't know, but that's what I'd like to do. But the first one I've already started on is White Nights by Dostoevsky. This is a recommendation I got from Jack Edwards, and he said he really loved this. He said this was like the quintessential like romance book. So I wanted to give it a shot. So I found the Penguin Little Black Classic of it because I think it's so cute. And it's only like 80 pages. And I was sitting there and I was like, I kind of want to read it now. But this is an easy one that I can very easily get through. I feel like I read the first 10 pages last night and I flew through them. So an easy one that I can definitely knock out. So I will at least know I will read 2 classics for the year. The next shortest one is The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. I bought this one because I think I bought another book that someone recommended, but they said it was basically kind of based off of The Turn of the Screw. And obviously I want to read this one first before I read that. And I found it was super short, so I figured give it a shot. And it sounds super fun. It seems very atmospheric. So this may be one that I read in October as well because it seems like it has to do with like ghosts and there's like a malevolent spirit or something and there's kids and they seem to know what's going on. It's creepy. So this seems like a good October as well. And then I have the uncensored Picture of Dorian Gray, and I specifically got the uncensored one because I've heard this one is gayer because they censored the other one to make it seem less gay, and nobody wants that, you know? Gayer is better. So I picked this one up, and this one is also not that long. It's like a little over 200 pages, so I could probably easily fly through this one. And this is obviously, I feel like these are one of those classics that like everyone recommends if you're getting into classics and like everyone has read. So definitely one I want to pick up. And speaking of classics that everyone recommends and everyone has read, Pride and Prejudice. This is the like intro to classic book that I feel like everyone says, if you want to read a classic, read Pride and Prejudice, because it is, you know, a romance story, so I feel like it is a bit easier to follow. But I have tried to read Pride and Prejudice, I shit you not, like 5 or 6 times. I have picked this book up so many times ever since high school. Like the first time I ever tried to read it was in high school, and I never continued on. And then I think I tried to read it again a couple years ago, and in the interim between then and now, it's been like 6 times I've tried to read this. I'm bound and determined to read this book and finish it, and hopefully love it. We'll see. But if I do the 10 pages a day, I think I can easily chip my way through this book. All right, last book of this video, which I'm sure has gotten so long, is Orlando by Virginia Woolf. This book follows Orlando, who I think at one point turns into a woman and is just gallivanting through life. I believe he's immortal and is just living his life and randomly turns into a woman one day. I don't know. That's all I really know. But it sounds interesting. And this cover was so cool. I thought this edition was so cute because I love like a Penguin Classics edition. That's pretty much the only edition of a classic I'll get because I prefer them. But I saw this one and it was so cute, so I had to get it. But this is one that I'm also excited to get to. Will I read this one? I don't know. I could. Like I said, I could fit all 5 in, but I feel like this is the one that if I didn't get to all 5, this would probably be the one that might get pushed into next year. But that is the entirety of my fall TBR, an ambitious fall TBR. Will I get to all of these? Unlikely. Unlikely, because I can barely stick to my monthly TBRs as is. But these are just some books that have been on my radar that I feel like really fit the season, really fit the mood, that I'm hoping to at least get to some of these. I know the series I'm going to try and prioritize. I already have those written down, those already blocked in. So those I'll definitely get to. I feel like the classics I will also try to definitely get to. I may read 1 or 2 of the nonfiction, and then a few of the other ones might get sprinkled in here or there. But that is it for today's video. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!